Hello everyone, today I will start with unit 3.2, that is endocrine system, and I will cover diabetes mellitus, which is very important. This is the most common endocrine disorder and usually occurs when there is a deficiency or absence of insulin. So it is classified into two types, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is also known as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. It occurs mainly in the children and the young adults, and the onset is usually sudden and it can be life threatening. In the type 1, there is a severe deficiency of insulin, or you can say there is complete absence of insulin due to destruction of beta cell. We know that beta cell from islet of Langerhans of pancreas synthesize insulin hormone. This islet of Langerhans contain two types of cell, alpha cell and beta cell. Beta cell secrete insulin hormone, whereas alpha cell secrete glucagon hormone. Insulin act as hypoglycemic hormone, means it will decreases the blood glucose level, and on the other hand glucagon act as hyperglycemic hormone, so it will increases the blood glucose level. So in the type 1 disease, beta cells are damaged, and it is further subclassified into two types. Subtype 1A, that is the immune mediated. It is characterized by autoimmune destruction of beta cells, and due to destruction of beta cell there is a deficiency of insulin. And subtype 1B, that is the idiopathic. Idiopathic means the cause of this type of insulin is not clear. It may be characterized by deficiency of insulin, which is associated with ketosis, but these patients are not showing any symptoms of autoimmune disorder. Now we will move to type 2 diabetes mellitus, which is also known as non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, and it is the most common form of diabetes, which accounting for around 80% of the cases. And the cases are multifactorial, and predisposing factors may include obesity, sedentary lifestyle, and some genetic factors. So in the type 2 diabetes mellitus, insulin level may be normal, but the sensitivity towards insulin by receptor is decreased. You can explain better this with the diagram which is given on page number 810. uh, this is the diagram of beta cell which is synthesizing insulin. uh, First, pre-proinsulin is synthesized, and it removes the amino terminal and leads to formation of proinsulin, and further proinsulin cleavage takes place and it gives rise to A and B chain of insulin, which are linked together through this C peptide bond. So whenever there will be high level of sugar in the blood, then it will trigger the release of insulin, because insulin is a hypoglycemic agent. So after releasing of insulin, it should be bind to insulin receptor to show its action. So that is not happen in type 2 diabetes mellitus. So you can explain better this with the example, like here you are in type 1 diabetes mellitus you are not getting chocolate to eat. In type 2 diabetes mellitus you are getting the chocolate, but you are not having the teeth to chew that chocolate. uh, I hope it is clear, because in type 1 insulin is not synthesized at all, so you are not getting the chocolate. And in type 2 you are getting insulin, but you are not having a sensitive receptor, so you are getting the chocolate but you are not having teeth to chew that chocolate. There are two more types of the diabetes mellitus. If in this chart it is clear, type 1 and type 2 I had explained. This is known as other specific type of diabetes, or a secondary diabetes. This may develop as a complication of uh, other diseases. So these are listed, you can go through. And last one is gestational diabetes mellitus. This develop during pregnancy, and it may disappear after delivery. However, in some cases diabetes often reoccur in later life. Now we will see the pathogenesis of the type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus respectively, which is very important. So we have seen the basic phenomenon in type 1 diabetes mellitus is destruction of the beta cell, and it usually lead to absolute insulin deficiency. And in that type 1b it remains idiopathic. So type 1a is immune mediated response. So first point is genetic susceptibility. So it has been observed that in identical twins, if one twin has a type 1a diabetes mellitus, then there are 50% of chances that the second twin may develop it. So this is the genetic susceptibility, and this is due to the location of the gene in HLA region. Second is autoimmunity. So number of immunological abnormalities are seen in autoimmunity. Maybe destruction of beta cells, selective destruction of beta cells, and T cell mediated immunity, autoimmunity. And in some cases there may be presence of islet cell antibodies against insulin, etc. So the third point is environmental factor. In that you can mention uh, certain viral infections which can lead to onset of disease, or some geographical and seasonal variation, or uh, certain chemical are also responsible for type 1 diabetes mellitus. So now we will see the pathogenesis of type 2 diabetes mellitus. uh, the first point is a genetic factor. In that you can mention there is approximately 80% of the chances of developing diabetes in other identical 12 twin if one twin has the disease. And a person with one parent having type 2 diabetes mellitus is also at an increased risk of getting diabetes. That's why when you go to the doctor, and if you are doubtful about having the diabetes, then doctor asks simple question: from your family is anyone who is suffering from diabetes or not, because it depend upon our genetic factor. Then second one, constitutional factor. So it may include other condition which may lead to type 2 diabetes mellitus. Examples: obesity, hypertension, and sedentary lifestyle. Then third, insulin resistance, and it is a very important topic from type 2 diabetes mellitus. In this, insulin resistance occurs, and this is due to the decreased sensitivity of the receptor towards insulin. So what are the consequences of this insulin resistance? Due to this resistance to action of the insulin, uh, there is not proper utilization of glucose takes place, and hence hyperglycemia, means increased level of glucose in blood take place. And uh, it is also seen there is increased hepatic synthesis of glucose. So it is much more complicated as compared to type 1 diabetes mellitus. And fourth, it is followed by impaired insulin secretion, because insulin release and insulin resistance both are interlinked. uh, so what happened in the third step? The receptor are not found sensitive towards the insulin. So in response to insulin resistance, there is a compensatory mechanism which may increase the secretion of insulin in an attempt to maintain that normal blood glucose level. So it may further worsen the situation. Then it is again followed by increased hepatic glucose synthesis, because the role of the insulin is to promote storage of glucose as glycogen in the liver. But in type 2 diabetes mellitus, there is increased synthesis of the glucose, so there is a higher level of glucose in the blood. So if you are finding any difficulty in remembering the pathogenesis, simply I will send the pics of these notes which is given in Harsh Mohan's small book in a very concise manner. So please go through that notes only. And further you have to draw one chart which is very easy to draw, and it will facilitate easy understanding the different action of the insulin as explained by me. So these are the different action of the insulin. So normally the plus sign is showing it will stimulate those action, and minus sign is showing it will inhibit those action. So what it will stimulate, insulin will stimulate the protein synthesis and lipogenesis, that is a formation of lipids, and utilization of glucose. So due to all these three process, this will utilizes glucose, and it will decreases the quantity of the glucose from the blood. That's why insulin acts as hypoglycemic agent. And what it will inhibit gluconeogenesis, that is the genesis means formation of glucose from non carbohydrate material. If you are having enough blood sugar level, then why it will lead to further formation of glucose. So it will inhibit gluconeogenesis. Along with this, it will also inhibit hepatic glycogenolysis. Lysis means breakdown of glycogen. As we know, glycogen is hyperglycemic agent. After breaking down of glycogen, we get glucose only. So already if you are having enough blood glucose level, then why it will promote glycogenolysis. So it will inhibit glycogenolysis. Further it will inhibit elementary absorption of glucose. So all these three processes, it will add glucose to the blood, so it is inhibited by insulin. So you can imagine why diabetes mellitus causes so much complication in the later stage, because due to the insulin deficiency, all these important functions are impaired. So now we will see the complication of diabetes mellitus, which is also important question. So it is given on page number 814, and it is also classified into two. First one is the acute, and second one is a late systemic complication. So under acute, first one is diabetic ketoacidosis. So what actually happened in this, in the absence of insulin, to promote normal glucose metabolism, the body needs alternative energy source. As we know, glucose is the basic source of energy in the body. So in the absence of insulin, that glucose will not be used as the source of energy. So body needs alternative source of energy. So what it will lead to, it will lead to excessive production of ketone bodies.